My name is Mike Licona. I'm 47 years old, and I became a Christian at the age of 10. But I didn't have all the rational thought processes that one would go through as an adult. So I was looking for a way to get to heaven. I was concerned about where I was going to spend eternity since probably age 7 or 8. And at age 10, someone described to me the gospel, and it sounded good, and it's what I was looking for. So I became a Christian. I remember as I went to college and then went into graduate school where I was specializing in the study of New Testament Greek, I can remember reading the Greek New Testament and just loving it and getting so much out of it. But then one day I asked myself the question, is this stuff really true? And how would I know if it's true? And if it wasn't true, then I was devoting my life to a fairy tale. And I didn't want to do that. So I started to wonder, well, how do I know that Christianity is true? And if I'd been brought up in Afghanistan, wouldn't I be a Muslim? And if I'd been brought up in China, maybe I'd be an atheist. Or if I'd been brought up in India, I'd be a Hindu. How do I know Christianity is true rather than this is what I believe because this is what I was brought up to believe? So I decided at that point that I was going to look into the evidence for Christianity, for Islam, for Buddhism, Hinduism, and even some of the arguments, the major arguments for atheism, and try to make a rational decision at this point as a college graduate. And as I started to get into this, I was ready to jettison my faith if the evidence pointed away from Christianity. But I became surprised at the strength of the evidence there was in favor of Christianity. It'd be scientific evidence, philosophical evidence, mainly for the existence of an intelligent designer of the universe who created life. But also there was the historical evidence for the resurrection of Jesus. And that was just so compelling to me. It was the major evidence, I think, for that Christianity is true and is something that other world religions don't have. So, for example, if I were to look at the evidence for the resurrection, I don't want to, if I'm going to look at it as objective and as unbiased as possible, I don't want to presuppose that the Bible is the inspired Word of God. So what I want to do is I want to look at facts that are so strongly evidenced that the majority of today's scholars, including skeptical ones, regard them as historical facts. And these, we could put 3 in this category, at least 3. One would be Jesus' death by crucifixion. Number 2, his disciples had experiences that they sincerely believed were appearances of the risen Jesus to them. And 3, a persecutor of the church named Paul converted to Christianity when he had an experience that he too believed was an appearance of the risen Jesus to him. Now, these 3 facts, I haven't gone over why scholars believe these 3 facts, but these are there's a virtually unanimous consensus of scholars today who regard these 3 as historical facts. And what we do with these facts then is the historian must look at these and try to come up with the best explanation to account for these facts. And the best explanation is the one that's going to be able to account for all 3 of these facts and to do so without any strain whatsoever, like you're trying to push them and force them to fit. Or to create a hypothesis where you're not only straining to make them fit, but also it sounds like you're trying to salvage your failing worldview at that point. So this is what we're looking for. And when we look at these things, the resurrection is the best explanation of all 3 of these facts. So for example, if I look at the resurrection, it explains Jesus' death by crucifixion. It explains why Jesus' disciples had experiences that they believed was the risen Jesus appearing to them. And it also explains why even a sworn enemy of the church, the persecutor Paul, who would be the same thing as Osama bin Laden today, converted to Christianity because he believed the risen Jesus appeared to him. Hallucinations really can't account for these. They can account for, say, a single appearance to Peter or someone else. But the majority of the appearance reports are to groups, and group hallucinations don't happen. They're private, individual occurrences, like to dreams. And I can't make my wife have the same dream I'm having and join me in this dream any more than I can make someone else join me in the same hallucination that I'm having because they're not contagious. So it doesn't explain how the disciples in group and individual settings came to believe that the risen Jesus appeared to them. And the Apostle Paul wasn't in the frame of mind to have a hallucination. He wasn't grieving over Jesus' death. He was glad it was happening, that it had happened, and was trying to finish what the Jewish leadership and the Romans had started. So when we look at this, the resurrection hypothesis accounts for all 3 facts without any strain whatsoever. But hallucination hypothesis, which is the most popular naturalistic explanation today, can't account for the known historical facts in a very adequate manner. And that's why the resurrection is the best explanation of these facts. And if the resurrection of Jesus occurred, this confirms Christianity.